Well, hi again, viewers. We're back with another game, and this time I'm playing Ambidexter. And what opening are we going to try? Well, I haven't played the French defense for a long time, so I think I'm going to stick to the French. I must mention that I've done some DVDs on the French. My opponent's picked a rather boring line here from my website, GingerGM.com. So please go and check out the DVDs on my website. I'll give you a very good lowdown on the whole opening. Right, okay, so this is, I have to admit, a pretty boring system that my opponent has picked here. He's picked something like the exchange French, and now we're just going to have to try to outplay him positionally. Not going to be such an exciting tactical game. Okay, so he's gone for, that's rather a crafty idea there. He wants to play c3, but now his knight's a little bit misplaced. I find it's always good to swap off these light square bishops to me in this system. I would like to play c6 and bishop c7. Very boring positional line, this, really. A little bit worried about him playing this move f4. Probably have to meet it with f5. I can't let his f-pawn get all the way to f5 here. f4, f5, and pretty solid position there. Yeah, my idea is really to go c6, and oh, I forgot about a5. I think he really should have considered the move a5 there. Now, I can go bishop c7, and this position can get more boring. Let's try to make him go f4 himself, so I get this hold on the e4 square. Hopefully I can get a knight to the square. You've got to look for outposts when you're playing, and my idea is after f4 to try to get one of my knights to the e4 square. Maybe I go knight c8, d6, e4, and it takes him a long time to get a knight to my outpost, the e5 square. Again, not the most interesting opening that my opponent's picked. He has the white pieces. I mean, this is obviously always quite equal. It's an interesting choice for my opponent. He's just trying to offer the exchange of my knight for his bishop, which I probably will take quite soon, as long as I get my bishop to c7, when my piece will be a very nice piece. I'm going to take this off now and get my bishop to c7, and I quite like this piece now. As long as you can't get a piece into e6, then I should be quite happy with my position. Okay, well, I can play a move like rook to e8, rook e1, and then knight c8 to try to get this around into the right square. Always look at your problem pieces when you're maneuvering. See how you can get them to a better square. My problem piece is my knight, and I want to get it to the outpost c4 or e4. Hence, knight c8, d6 into one of these outposts. That looks like a very decent plan. Okay, my opponent has also played a good plan here, so I might just push on with my pawn. So I've got the f5 square for my queen. Don't really have time to play knight d6 quite yet, because I want to fight for control of the e5 square. He can take on e8 now, when I'd like to play rook takes. Okay, here my idea was to get my queen to this square, and now I'm attacking both knights, so I think his last move was maybe a little bit dubious. So yeah, I mean, generally, okay, he's gone back again, maybe his only move, and now, well, even g4 is tempting. Let's try to punish my opponent for his like slow play. If I can get g4 in, I'm happy. So really trying to just punish him for his, like, you know, boring play here. And now maybe I can bring my knight to e4, very tempting option. I can even go h5 here, because if he takes, I take on d3. That might be a better option, but you know, I'm just going to try to improve my pieces before getting involved with any tactics here. Bring this knight into one of these squares, get my knight, which was doing nothing, to a much better square. My opponent really is playing so boring. I mean, he kind of deserves to lose, in my opinion, with his boring moves, but I'm sure he'll disagree with my assessment there. And okay, I mean, it's fairly even. I'm now hitting the c3 square because I got my knight from this bad e7 square into the game. I think I want to just force his knight to make a decision now. If he takes, I take with a pawn, and I've got a bit more space then. his queen can then come over to h5, trying to get into e8. I've got to stop this maneuver here. Even queen takes, going for an ending, is not ridiculous. But I like pawn takes because it cuts his knight squares out. And he's going for an ending. I mean, God, he's such a boring player. And I should be better here. Right, now I can clamp down his pawns on the dark squares of b5. Love to get my king into c4. If I move my king here, he goes c4 himself, which he's probably going to play anyway. And do I want to allow that? The other idea is to go here. It's very hard to get to his pawns then. Let's play this because I want to try to, really clamp his pawns down. Run my king in and then use my e pawn. This is my idea. His pawns are now on dark squares. Okay, he's playing very sort of... He can't allow my king to get too far into the position. And he is one square away now. If I get to c4, I'm very happy. But how do I make progress here? This is what I was slightly concerned about. Let's say he does nothing. Okay, well this way now I get connected past pawn, but it does put all my pawns on the same colour square as my bishop. So I think it's clear my opponent is just trying to sit and wait. And again, the question remains, how do I make progress? Okay, well he's doing some nice manoeuvring now, I have to say. Maybe I should not put my pawn in the square. He wants to go knight into d3, I feel, at some point. And it's not clear what I'm doing here. Okay, well let's try to maybe have the idea of going a5 and see if I can do something like this. But okay, I have to admit I've kind of underestimated my opponent's position. Very hard for either of us to do much here. Bit of annoying position, to be honest. Can I now try to make zugzwang him? Again, I want to try to go b4 at the right moment. I've got this connected past pawn. A very, very tricky ending. Both of us have to admit. I want to try to get b4 in. This is my idea. Where does he put his king? Well, now my idea is to go b4. If he goes knight to this square, can I go king here? What is this position like? This is what I was relying on. I mean, this position could be winning, could be losing. Very hard to say. I'm trying to rely on my connected past pawn here. For example, if he goes knight takes knight, king takes knight, c4, I go b3. We will try to examine this. So check here. And now, well, I've got to play riskily. And I've got to try to come in with okay, he stopped that, and now I certainly think I've played this wrong, haven't I? Because my king is so far away from the action. So okay, what am I going to do to try to save this position? Okay, well I've got to try to bring this back around now to a much better square. But I think he's played the endgame well. I have to give him credit. And now, well, I'm not even sure who's better here. It could be my opponent, because... but I still have this pawn, okay, and I've still got chances to zugzwang him. Very, very interesting position. Where is Magnus Carlsen when we need him? Okay, he's offered a draw. We don't want to mess about with draws, do we? We can't go for draws yet. We've just got to play a little bit longer. I want to get my king to g5. But as soon as I move my king back, he comes in with his king. Okay, well, that's a very controversial decision he's made there. I mean, that's really... Oh, well, he's got this pawn. But still, technically speaking, of course, this should be a draw. But he's now got absolutely zero winning chances. And, of course, if he can get rid of his two pawns here, this is actually a very straightforward draw. But in some positions, again, he can get zugzwanged. And I expect now this is just a draw, because if I check him, okay, he's played this well. Here he should go f5. And as long as I don't lose on time, it's a draw. f5 and g5, and we have a draw. Okay, well, he's got what he wanted. And if I go, oh, well, here I can check him and push up, keep some winning chances alive. Okay, so now, it's probably still a draw. I'm very short of time here. So he's got this position. So I'm hoping at some point I can get him in zugzwang, but it's not probably going to happen, this, is it? So Let's just see. And I'm very short of time. I might have to take his last pawn off the board and set the draw. Okay, but I'm messing about a lot here, and there goes my last pawn. Okay, maybe not such an interesting game there. My opponent playing pretty boring chess, I have to admit. Don't really enjoy games like that so much, but okay, I mean, anyone can play in their own style. And let's just try to have a look at this game. So I think I have worked out how to examine games now. So if I go to show my recent games, and then if I go to examine, we can bring up this game, and if I can flip the board, oh dear, actions. Let's see if we can flip the board so we can look at my point of view. Now we can go through the game. So, okay, we'll just quickly have a look at what happened. Like I said, I've done 2 DVDs on this, the French defense of GingerGM. If you go to my website, you can have a look at this. I know it very well. And this taken on d5 is a way that white tries to gain a small edge, followed by bishop d3. But the pawn structure is so symmetrical that it should well be a draw here, really. Let's see what the computer says. So we have a lot of manoeuvring about. I always think it's good to get rid of the light square bishops here for black, because his light square bishop is pointing on this quite dangerous diagonal towards my king, and my bishop is not. So I think black should swap off light square bishops and white should avoid that. Hence why I played this. I'm not sure about this move of his. Didn't seem to work out too well because his knight eventually goes to a passive square. Now we try to get the advantage of the bishops. I like this move, knight e7. I get ready to play c6, maybe f5. Don't believe the computer's assessment. I'm sure this is still fine for me here. And now I think he should play a5 here. This is a move I wasn't sure about. Knight d6 is also recommended by the computer. Let's go on a little bit, see if the ending had any chances. So this is the point I made in the game. If white plays f4, in this position, he now gives away control of the e4 square. This square I've highlighted. And my plan now would be a positional plan of getting my knight on e7 to this beautiful square. So I would play knight to c8. My outpost is the e5 square, but it's very hard for white to get a knight there. He'd probably have to go knight c1, move his queen, knight d3 and knight e4. So my knight gets the outpost first. It is an outpost on e4 because it can't be kicked away by any pawns. So I'd assume I'm a little bit better here if I get that manoeuvring. My opponent didn't play f4 for that reason. He played here. And now maybe I should have gone bishop c7 as the computer recommends, but the way I played it looked quite positionally okay, because I thought my bishop on c7 looks like a great piece. Queen e3, and again I now just went for this knight maneuver. I was thinking, what is my worst placed piece? Let's at some point try to get it into one of these 2 squares. So a little maneuver. So I put my rook on e8 first, and now we start this maneuver, moving your worst placed piece to a better square. Quite happy with my bishop on this diagonal at the moment. Don't really need to move that anywhere. And now I think f4 is a good move. It gives me the f5 square for my queen. And here it comes into f5. And now he has to go back with his knight. So here, well, g5 is interesting, certainly. And knight d6. My pieces are slowly improving their chances. But let's have a look at this ending now, because I'm sure at some point I should have been doing well here. So let's just go all the way into the ending. And I don't know about b5. I'm trying to lock his pawns on dart squares when I have a dart square bishop, so I can attack them and put my pawns on light squares. But it's very hard to attack the base of his pawn structure, which is the c3 pawn. So this is the problem behind this move. And now, even though my king comes racing in, and I must be better somehow here, but how to make progress after f3? And should I go e3? Not clear. e3 always gives me this pawn advantage, but it's very hard to make progress in this position. And eventually we did get a5 in, maybe my only way to try to win. And here, the computer gives king d6. What did I play? Play king c6, similar idea. And now maybe I rush with b4. Maybe, again, as the computer says, I put my bishop somewhere safer first. because after b4 he hits my bishop now, and then his knight comes towards my pawns over here, so it is probably looking more like a draw. In actual fact, I thought I was worse here because my king has drifted so far away. But again, let's go a bit later on, because even later I'm not convinced it's a dead draw, and I think I played it very badly at some point. So here, knight takes e3. I mean, it probably is just a dead draw. Now, the reason this is a dead draw is for the fact that if he can get rid of his remaining 3 pawns and is able to put his king on h1, even though I'm a bishop and a pawn up, it's called I've got the wrong coloured rook's pawn. To win that, I need the queening square to be the same colour square as my bishop. Otherwise, it's a draw. But the peculiar thing in these kind of positions is that often you can force, by zugzwang, you can force your opponent to play a move where you can take h takes g5, but this is just not possible here because my opponent's pawns are just going to sacrifice themselves. Okay, well, maybe not one of the more tactical games, a more positional game. Had some interesting moments. It was a manoeuvring game, but sometimes you have to just play like Magnus Carlsen and not like Mikhail Tal. So you have to learn always to play chess, positional and tactical. There you go. So let me know if you like the analysis feature of that. You can always turn off if you find it boring. And please, again, like my page, check out the website GingerGM.com, and try to follow me if you can. Or is it follow, subscribe, something like that? So keep me doing these videos. Cheers for now.